To celebrate 4 years of Erudite Magic and providing you some of the best content related to magic books, I thought it would be interesting if I shared with you my 4 favorite books from the last 4 years. Here are some of the rules I've implemented for this list. One is it actually has to have been published from the year 2020 through now 2024. I've reviewed a lot of books and some of them were published outside of that time frame, so that's one of the rules. The other rule is that I actually have to have reviewed the book. So while I've reviewed almost everything that's been released in a major way, there are some that may have slipped through the cracks, and if you have a different list than I do, please sound off down in the comments below because I'd love to hear what you're reading and what you've enjoyed over the last 4 years. And finally, stay tuned to the end because I'm going to bring this back around to what do these books have in common and what is it that I find appealing about some of these top books over the last 4 years. Now, I'm already breaking the rules. I know I said I was going to give you 4 books over the last 4 years, but that just feels a little incomplete, so I'm going to give you a 5th bonus book right now, and that is Notes from a Fellow Traveler by Darren Brown. What is it? It's essentially a book of theory. It doesn't teach very many tricks. I believe he does tip 2 different methods, but it's a thick book dedicated to sharing what Darren Brown has learned over 30 years of performing. And he wrote this while he was traveling around the UK, dedicating different chapters to different places he was in and the lessons that he's learned, which, if you know Darren Brown and you recognize that he's at the top of his game for performing for paying audiences, I definitely wanted to hear what he had to say. There's a lot of things that I learned from it, took a lot of notes, and it's the type of book you're going to go back to again and again and again, because each time you read it, you're going to pick up on some other nuance or something that you're now ready for. And in fact, that's one of the lessons that I've learned over the last 4 years of doing Erudite Magic, is that even if I could go back and talk to Jeff from those original posts 4 years ago and said, you don't want to do this, try to do this, you're just not ready for it. So when you are reading a book, don't try to accelerate past the learning curve. Books like Darren Brown's book will just take time to understand what he's saying, to implement the advice that he's given, and probably will require you to go back through it at some point. Okay, officially, number 4 on my list of the top 4 books from the last 4 years is Making Magic by Martin Lewis. I reviewed this book a few years ago, and sadly it was published right around the same time that Martin passed. I've talked about it at great length in a number of videos, including my favorite Lifetime Magic books. But Martin was so accomplished in so many different ways of magic, and this book is a legacy book. He's sharing many of the creations that he's come up with, including multiple versions of his cartographic, which is the animated sketch pad drawing of a rising card that then the performer can give out as a souvenir to the participant. He also has mentalism in here, close-up card magic, but there's a lot of things that you're going to have to get your hands into to make the gimmicks yourself. Or in some cases, there are commercially available items if you don't want to have to put in those arts and crafts. But why do I love a book like this? As I already mentioned, it's a legacy book. It's something that encompasses a rich lifetime in magic and has so many different facets to it. It's not just close-up sleight of hand or card magic. It's bigger pieces that play for bigger audiences. It's mentalism. It's beautiful props, it's well-constructed methods, and I think that there's a lot to like in this book. It's not cheap, but nor should it be when someone is sharing their entire lifetime in magic. That's another lesson that I feel like I've learned from this book, and as it relates to Erudite Magic and perhaps even your own career, is that as you go along, you're going to find things that you're going to have to build yourself. You're going to put it together, and there's something really rewarding about building and creating your own voice and your own props and your own touches. When you watch an Erudite Magic video, I hope you feel like there's a difference from the content I'm creating versus all of the other wonderful YouTube magic reviewers that are out there, and we each have our own different style. And that's what I'm feeling like with Martin Lewis and Making Magic, is you get a style from him that just really resonates with me. This episode of Erudite Magic is being brought to you by Don's Magic and Books. I'm incredibly grateful for Don's partnership with this channel because he focuses on magic books, which is exactly what this channel does. And I know that you love them, so next time you're looking for another book to add to your library, check out Don's Magic and Books via the link that I'm dropping down in the description below. Don has older books, hard to find, out of print, and I've heard from so many of you that were able to find something special with him at a really reasonable price. Don not only offers excellent material at great prices, he also offers free shipping if you're in the United States and meet minimum shipping thresholds. So I don't know what you're waiting for. Check out Don's Magic and Books this week. I know you're going to love shopping with him, and you'll end up, like me, being a lifelong customer and friend. And now, back to the list of my top 4 books from the last 4 years. At number 3 on my list of the top 4 books over the last 4 years is Wayne Dobson's Legacy. I am cheating just a little bit because I recognize that this is a set of 3 books and not really 1 book, but I couldn't let this one go by because it's such a gorgeous collection of 3 books encompassing Wayne's story of his life and magic career, his magic that he's done for TV and close-up, as well as stages, the London Palladium. And when you read these 3 books, it ticks a lot of boxes for me. One is that he's a very funny person. I like reading comedy magic, even though I don't always perform that style. I love reading, laughing, and recognizing that the audience is going to have a great time with these pieces. Like making magic, there's so much variety. I love the experiments that Wayne performed over time. He wanted to be able to do a full evening stage show working just from his pockets, effectively doing close-up magic for a bigger audience. And he's explored a lot of different plots, different props. There's always an interesting angle and gags and bits of business that are going to make everyone laugh and have a good time. And as with most of the books on my list here, there's so much volume, you're sure to find something that you like. On top of it all, that first book that talks about his story is really an inspiration to see how he's dealt with the physical adversity that he has, and yet he continues to perform magic even to this day. So if you want to be inspired, read some great magic, share a few laughs, and learn some really cool stuff that you can share with your audiences, then I recommend Wayne Dobson's Legacy. Number 2 on my list is, well, another cheat, because it wasn't published originally during the last 4 years, but I am talking about the Barry Richardson trilogy, which is composed of Theater of the Mind, Act 2, and Curtain Call. I've reviewed the first 2 here on the channel, and in fact, the first book I've reviewed twice. It's that good. Penguin Magic recently reprinted these books, I believe, last year. So for a while, they were unavailable. And Barry Richardson, if you don't know him, was a public speaker, a professor, and a magician who performed for a lot of well-known celebrities throughout his career. Gave a lot of public speeches where he intermingled magic with a message, and so the magic is somewhat reflective of that. And although it's focused on mentalism, there are pieces that cover magic, mentalism. There are even a few stunts that he uses to teach an object lesson. And although may he rest in peace, I don't think Barry Richardson was the most entertaining performer I've ever seen. It's incredible how much mileage he got from each one of these pieces and how it carried him around the world, which I feel like was the lesson for me and hopefully for you as well, that when you have something like magic to share with people, it's inherently interesting and people want to hear more about it. They want to share in a piece of wonder. And Barry Richardson's books are chock full of pieces that you can share with people in your life, whether it's in a close-up setting, a stand-up living room setting, or even some of the biggest stages out there. So if you need any encouragement or you need material to perform for these situations, then check out the Barry Richardson trilogy. I know that I perform a number of these pieces in my own show, and there's a couple that I'm working on right now to integrate into my new show. At number 1 on my list of the top 4 books from the last 4 years is Talk About Tricks. This is a 2-volume set based on Joshua Jay's column in Magic Magazine. He did this for over 10 years, where people would sometimes submit things to him. Sometimes he wrote up original pieces, but there was always a cool piece of magic every month in Magic Magazine in the column Talk About Tricks. And now all of those tricks have been compiled with permission into 2 massive volumes of magic. This is not just close-up card magic, as you might expect with Josh. This is magic from some of the biggest creators over the 10-year period that it covered, sharing some of their best pieces. And there are a lot of people who published something in that column for the first time that later published it in a book. So there's lots of great magic, and Josh has even performed some of the magic that you can find in this book on The Tonight Show. So it just shows you that this is powerful material that will play for audiences. The books have multiple indices in them and now are available as ebooks if you're more interested in being able to search through such massive tomes, because if you put these on your lap, I assure you it will put your legs to sleep at some point. There are a number of pieces that I've kind of harvested from there, and there are essays and thoughts from other magicians, as well as top trick lists for each year and from certain creators. So when we zoom out for a second and we look at why are these books on my top 4 list, the common theme that I see and can reflect on is that these are compilations. These are lifetimes of magic distilled down into book format. And that doesn't surprise me because I absolutely love having a huge variety of magic, and it's one of the biggest benefits of purchasing magic in a book format. When you buy it as a video download or a trick, you're getting one piece of magic, and it might be great. It might be just the thing that you need to put in your show. But my experience has taught me that we don't actually know what needs to go into our show. We think that there's one piece of magic or one more thing that if we learn this, it's going to put us over the top and make us into the next David Blaine, when in fact it's really nothing more than hard work, determination, and continuing to share magic that's going to elevate our craft and art into something that we can truly be proud of. And when that happens, you need material, you need things to be able to perform, and for most magicians, the biggest bang for the buck is going to come from magic books. There might be one trick in a book, and if the average book price is, let's say, $60, you might pay $60 for that one trick, but you're also getting all of these other ideas. And when I look back over my career as a magician, I've not consistently focused on one thing. I started off in card magic, I moved into mentalism, and that's where I perform now. And even though I have a set list of things that I perform, it's always interesting to me to see how just reading one trick can change my approach to an existing trick that I'm doing, or finding that one slight makes it that much better, the John Guastafaro 1 degree change that can really improve a magic performance. So having a library that's filled with books that have huge compilations or understanding someone's lifetime of magic and their perspective, how it's changed over the decades, I find that incredibly useful, and I think you will too. If you'll let me be somewhat emotional here for the last few seconds of this video, I absolutely love and appreciate every single one of you who has ever watched a video, liked a video, commented, or even expressed a difference of opinion. This community has meant the world to me to know that there are so many magicians out there over the last 4 years that want to talk about magic books. And it warms my heart to know that magic is in a great place for the future. So thank you one and all for watching this channel, for making this dream come true for me, and for being part of the Erudite Magic community. If you'd like to get even more involved, I recommend you subscribe to my newsletter, which is linked down in the description below. I share some tips, some of my favorite tricks that are listed in books. I do some mini reviews, and I'm currently writing a magic book and I'm sharing some of those tricks there as well. So check that out if it sounds interesting to you. As always, my friends, I really appreciate you watching, and I look forward to a 5th year with you. But until next time,